All right, it's September 2nd, and we are in the pumpkin patch. And guess what? We got big news. We have a 1-ton pumpkin in the patch already. We have 4 to 6 weeks left before the weigh-off season starts, so not sure which pumpkin's going where, but first weigh-off is in 4 weeks. The last weigh-off as an option is in 6 weeks. And that pumpkin all the way in the back, not the orange one here, is already weighing 2,000 pounds, which I definitely did not think was going to be something I would be saying this year, especially with 6 weeks to go. So pretty darn exciting. Let me walk you through the plant and the pumpkins and show you what's going on. All right, let's start off with the 2006 Wolf. Plant on the 2006 Wolf is just great. I mean, look at the size of these leaves. They're bright green, filling the whole section of the patch. I mean, yeah, back here it's definitely showing its age and dying back, but you know, overall, I'm really happy with the plant condition, the leaf color, leaf size. You know, look at the size of some of these leaves here. Of course, they always get big on the ends, but really, plant health-wise, you know, this looks great, especially if, you know, for example, this thing only has to go 4 more weeks before the weigh-off. You know, I'm feeling pretty good. The powder mildew showing up. There's little spots of it that are showing up kind of all over. It's not too bad yet, but you know, at this time of year, it can really move fast. So that's something to keep an eye on. Once it really takes a foothold, it can be a pain in the ass to get rid of, or you just don't. Here's the pumpkin. It is over 1,500 pounds and 90 days old today. Which is great because I kind of thought 1,500 pounds would be the absolute max. And if we got 4 more weeks to grow, right now, at least it's growing at about 10 pounds a day. So, you know, it's not going to do that all the way to the end. But that's, you know, there's a chance it can keep on going. So we'll see where that ends up. The cantalouping has really started. You know, there's, like I showed you before, there's bunch of little stress cracks here that make me nervous, especially when they're on the blossom end, but it's all been surface level so far, so hopefully it remains that way. Haven't had to move this pumpkin. It's kind of growing out along the sides and not back towards the stem, which is nice. So this thing has been pretty easy, which is, hopefully it stays that way. When I thump it, you know, sometimes people will thump and sort of put their knee to feel how the pumpkin vibrates and stuff. It doesn't feel super solid. I'm not guessing, you know, you never know. You got to go to the weigh-off to really find out, but I don't think it's going to be a heavy to chart pumpkin just based on the way it thumps. It's kind of, I don't know, not that it sounds light, but, or hollow, but kind of. All right, let's go show you this beast over here. This is who's keeping the mice at bay. I don't think we've had any mice even make their way into the patch because of this little machine. All right, now we're at the 2560 Ginger plant. This pumpkin over here is a monster, and it's only 76 days old. So as comparison, what I just showed you on the 2006 Wolf is 90 days old, around 1,500 pounds. This pumpkin is only 76 days old and is weighing 2,000 pounds. I'm just blown away by that. This pumpkin is blowing me away this whole time. It just keeps going. It's not the best looking pumpkin anymore. You know, when it was young, it was like perfectly symmetrical. That's changed for sure. It's just so wide. It's like, last time I checked, it was like 6.5 feet wide, probably even more than that now. And it's not very tall. I did have to cut the blossom in from maybe what you remember last video where it was making contact. So I cut a portion of the blossom end off, and I've had a fan on it like I always do 24/7. It seems nice and dry, so I'm not super worried about that. The skin is still really pretty young, smooth feeling. You can kind of see that sort of veiny thing going on. I think that's a good sign that it's still growing pretty well. It's really hard to measure this thing. It's just so big and so irregularly shaped. You know, I can measure it, you know, 2 times in a row and get, you know, significant difference in measurement. So it's really hard to say where it's actually at, and just it being in the patch makes it particularly hard to measure, because you got to get your tape measure all around the circumference, over the top, over the sides. But everything seems to be healthy. I did have to move it yesterday because it was a little tight and kind of kinking on the vine there, and I was able to get a couple of inches, and then my board broke here, which this is an indication of just how dang heavy this thing is. So this is 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood, and pulling on the mill fabric there broke the board. And then something that really made me nervous, the mill fabric started sliding out, but the pumpkin wasn't moving with it. So I had to stop. So I don't really have a good way to move the pumpkin if I have to move it again, other than like putting straps around the whole side of it, or I don't even want to think about it. So anyway, there's your 2560 Ginger update. We got a 1 ton pumpkin, estimated 1 ton pumpkin in the pumpkin patch, and pretty blown away by that. And so we just got to coast this thing home. Like I said, either somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks left to go. Keep this plant chugging along. It's in decent shape. Keep the powdery mildew at bay. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. I will show you, there's a chance I could hit the 4,300 3 pumpkin goal still, just given how big these 2 are. So let me take you over to patch 1, and I'll show you the situation there. It's a bummer the 2245 Andrews has that stem split, because it's starting to really become a bright orange, pretty looking pumpkin. It is still growing, but I think it's finally slowing down. It's not soft or anything, but how it sort of really has tapered off in growth. It's about 1,080 pounds right now. Yeah, I think it's not long before I'm gonna have to pick it, and but I think it'll be old enough to have mature seeds, and it's actually a really pretty pumpkin. And this 2266 Kissamore with this teeny tiny little plant, this is the whole plant right here, just right there. With the way the other pumpkins are growing, this one I think I'm starting to really pay attention to this pumpkin and make sure that it still survives, because you know, it's taping 500-600 pounds right now. If we can get in that 600 pound range with as big as the other 2 are, I still have a chance to achieve my 3 way off 4,300 goal, which would earn me a grower's jacket, which was the goal that I set out to achieve this year. So it's still possible. You know, that would have been a slam dunk. I would have been over the 4,300 with all 3 pumpkins by a long shot already. And with this little guy, it'll be close. So we'll see.